Right guys, Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons. And what I've got for you today is the analysis portion to my, and we need to get this intro sorted out, don't we? The analysis, my analysis, let's go with that for now. Maid Choose Me. If you want to check out my kind of reaction watch through of, I found like an unofficial version of the song and the official live video. I just wanted to see if there's much of a difference because I was suggested Clang by Rabbi Rabs. On that note, shout out to you man, as well as Matt Hartzman, Glenn Kelly, Stephen Williams and Rebecca Hay for their continued support on Patreon. I appreciate it so much. If you want to do that, you can check out patreon.com/JBF Music. If you want to support the channel or you got a suggestion, it's really appreciated. I'd been pointed towards this kind of a live version of Clang that was just kind of filmed with the camera, and I still really enjoyed it, and I think it's worthwhile exploring that as well. So it's kind of a whole world of I don't want to call them bootlegs, I suppose. And I used to do that back. I got really into Nirvana when I kind of started getting in guitar and music, and spent a lot of time kind of finding bootlegs. So I've still got a few of their, what they call the Outcesticide CDs. So there's one where there's like they're playing Smells Like Teen Spirit and it's got Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers playing trumpet on it. I mean, with YouTube it's much easier to find these stuffs, but you know, back when you're kind of getting into music and you have to go to your kind of thrifty CD stores and you find this kind of rare gem that you've not really heard about before has been mentioned once in some obscure, probably now defunct forum. I don't know, there's still kind of that feeling of it being something a bit, I don't know, a bit kind of hidden, like or a bit kind of elusive, and that still kind of appeals to me. So I'm quite happy for things to be a bit kind of rough and ready in terms of the audio or visual quality, just so long as it's got that kind of, you know, that kind of like special secretness to it. I don't know how to describe it other than that. But yeah, preamble aside, that was a long one, I do apologise. I'll go through the top of this video, we'll go from the start. I kind of break stuff down that's happening. There was the chord progression is the thing that's going to stick out to me the most off the bat. There's a sweep towards the end that I want to break down, but I might end up putting that in a different video. I should edit this out instead of thinking out loud, but here we are. Yeah, so this is a thing I think I've encountered with them before, starting with a harmonised vocal. So they've got the in-ears to provide them with the click track, so it lets them know when to come in. But you'd probably, before doing this, you'd have some sort of pitch, either a note playing, or even just the line. If the line happens, you know that you're singing, then you can just copy it. And by pitch, I mean there might just be at a note, I don't know what key they're in. It sounded like it's maybe F. I think it is. Yeah, so they might just have an F coming through the in-ears, and that lets you, you know, you can kind of pitch from there. Otherwise, it's just a totally random as to what note you pick if you don't have perfect pitch, and it'd be for most of us, it'd be a complete mess. So that's probably how to do that. Cool, yeah, the chord progression's quite interesting. It's also the texture, it's all downstrokes and palm muted. So you have this almost kind of digitized robotic feel to it, but very kind of driving, like telling you it's going somewhere. Cool, and then I think they've taken the same chord progression and just applied it here. Then a variation for the verse. Cool, I'm going to go back to the intro and break that down and double check it's the same for both sections, right? So on closer listen, they are quite different, but they both kind of have this move, this for the intro first part, for the second part of the intro. So they've got a similar feel. It's quite clever writing, and that you've got kind of like a sort of theme or an idea, and instead of abandoning it, kind of exploring it a bit more, but in a different context to keep it fresh. It really fills out in the second half, because I'll put it back so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So there, because the bass comes in and the bass sounds like it's hitting that low D, so you just get this, just really filling out the sound spectrum, because before we've just had the guitars. So if you want a breakdown in terms of what's going on with the music theory, then do hit me up, because I can put together a video or answer stuff in the comments. But I'm trying to keep things a bit broader strokes just now, because that seems to be resonating a bit more with you guys. So this part we have here, it's like the final note on this transition into the verse, right? That what we're doing there is it's like a leading note. So we're in D. The note before it is a D flat, so it wants to kind of resolve to there. It's borrowing from a scale used in classical music a lot, the harmonic minor, so that's why it's got this kind of slightly classical, very kind of final feeling. You kind of anticipate in your head where the note wants to go when it goes there. Here, incredibly effective. You've just got the drums doing a kick snare, dum 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 dum, really stripped down. Quiet palm mute guitars ringing out in the other one, but everything's way quieter. There's a ton of space. Backing vocals creeping in a bit. And if you listen out for it, you can still hear that that leading note. Pop it back so you know what I'm talking about. So there, the ba, and then da is when we're back into repeating this kind of cyclical chord progression. As the verse goes on here, you'll start to notice the vocals are getting a little bit punchier, a little bit louder. Is there lyrics on this one? Okay, yeah, cool. So if you listen out for it here, the "You Make Me Crazy" part, she's really kind of she's really putting a lot more force into that compared to before. And unconsciously it's kind of telling us things are getting louder, a small crescendo, something's happening. We've got this kind of grungy breakdown. So what's happening? So we're getting this kind of D to F riff. Very, taken from the blues, that move. Because there's distortion on the guitar, because it's down tuned. Because it's a full rock band, it sounds more contemporary. Then there's a really kind of dirty note in the background. It sounds like it's a double stop. Like that. That note is as you can hear, it's quite tense. When you have this over the top. Quite grungy, it kind of wants to go somewhere, right? And what I believe is happening is it's a double stop, so this note has been bent up to here, right? Probably playing the open string as well, which is this note, so bending up to it. But when you bend it a wee bit sour, you can get that kind of uneasy kind of grungy dirt in. And then it's going up. Just up a semitone. So you've gone from, which might even be, then we've got, oh, that's a tricky one to do. I suspect they're in a different tuning from me, because that's a particularly nasty double stop to do, but it's taking the same idea, moving it up just a semitone. And that was probably, okay, that one's gone up further, so then we're up to here. Which is, it's a nice note. If I play the chord that's underneath, it mixes in really well because it's in the chord. the one that we had before, where were we here? Yeah, so that's going to be a pretty spicy one. So you basically got the lead doing this line. So you can hear the tensions building. And then resolving. So just these subtle things, instead of it just being on one note, that nice one all the way through. Or on one of the more sour ones. By moving up, you get this, again, this sense of progression that I think is kind of one of their key things, and probably why people like them so much, is there's little things that they do, whether it's like the vocals getting a bit louder to sort of tell you something's coming, or a guitar line ascending, just to let you know that there's progression and it's not necessarily just kind of going round in a loop. And then I hadn't clocked this on my listen through before, but the progression we had in the intro is being used for the chorus. Right. Which is quite clever because, well, for a few reasons. One, because we've kind of heard it already, but in a different context, so your unconscious mind is prepared for it, so you get that little dopamine or serotonin kick from your mind going, oh, I recognise this, at least a little bit. And also, when I said before, the two parts of the intro are slightly different, this is kind of combining them. So those two moves where you had previously, what was it? It was... and one here, was it? Those appear in this version. So first that kind of one we had in the first part of the intro, then that kind of fill that happens, you know, just at the end when you're kind of gone. So that's linking back to that idea that they'd already touched on, which is a really cool thing I wouldn't have clocked if I hadn't kind of tried to figure out what was happening there. And again, in the chorus, she's just kind of giving it a lot of power in the vocals, which is adding to the overall dynamic. And then when we come into the verse, everything's kind of down or hitting up. A big D on the first beat of the bar that's still quite loud, and then it's all kind of taking that dynamic back down. Back down, right? So this time both guitars are doing the muting, which is that kind of dun 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 dun. And that's giving it that kind of driving feeling of progression. A tiny thing I would say is you could maybe have the lead guitar be a little bit louder in the mix, because I can hear it's doing stuff but it's not particularly prominent. But that might not be the goal of the song here. The objective might be to just fill out some space but keep that kind of pounding, driving feeling going on. And there's also the way these parts are composed. The reason I could play them on one guitar, probably quite sloppily, is because they're leaving space for each other instead of happening at the same time. You're boom, 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 don, don, don. So there's space in the bar, so it's this kind of question and answer, call and response thing that we get quite a lot from them. Yeah, and what we've got in the chorus here, just to fill out the spectrum a bit, is the chords being pick taps instead of it being a big chord. Picking out notes from it, so the same set of notes, so they're going to work well together, but playing them in a different way. So instead of just being one big kind of punchy boom 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 riff, like, you know, both of them going or whatever, it's filling things out a little bit more. The drums just keeping this really simple, just driving it towards the goal. Same with the bass. Leaving a lot of room for the vocals, so you're probably pay more attention to them. And what you might have noticed with the solo here is if you listen to the rhythm underneath it, Was it just here? So it's the same that we had for the second part of the intro, and what she's doing is outlining the chord. So you can hear here there's a slightly spicy note. Yeah. So when she goes down to that, I'll play it for context. What that's doing is that note, again, when I mentioned it before, it's the note from the harmonic minor, this kind of classical leading note, and it's kind of has a slightly more final sense to it than if she played a more standard rock pop scale, the natural minor that tends to go. And it sounds like it's kind of these Dorian kind of a D Dorian kind of Santana-ish bluesy rock thing going on. Yeah, here, so I can hear a harmony very faintly underneath, so I assume on the click track there's one being played in. So instead of... Unless she's picking both notes, is it that? Let's double check it. No, I'm pretty sure I can hear the harmony from the left, was it? So going up a kind of a D minor pentatonic with the harmony probably in the thirds. Harmonies underneath. I think that's what the harmony's doing. So together, what have you got? Yeah, that sounds about right to me. So you could pick both notes, but it's not going to be quite as clear, quite as clean. And then after this, I think there's a harmony here. Yeah, doodly 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 doo. So that sounds like it's maybe harmonized in fourths or fifths. That bit's not got a harmony, and then here. Yes, I think it's probably harmonized a fourth below. It's basically the same guitar line, but being played via the click track. And it just fills out the sound a bit. So I'm assuming on the original, the studio one, which I've not checked out yet, there's a kind of harmony in the solo, and that's how they've managed to replicate it live without having to give up the rhythm guitar and do a big shred run at the end. And then a harmony on that kind of bend as well. So this is I really like this bass line. I think it's a shame almost. I think they could have milked this bit a bit longer, but leave them wanting more. I think it's just really cool what it's doing. Just a really nice little line. It kind of made things a bit more quaint and stripped down before it goes back into it. Just very dynamic writing. Loads of attention to detail as you come to expect probably. Cool, and like this bit here again, vocals giving it a little bit... giving it a little bit of that kind of, call it your hard palate. You know, if you take your tongue and you put it at the back of the top of your mouth, it's kind of smooth, and as you move it forward, there's this kind of bit, it feels kind of a bit bumpy and wavy. To me, you know how your tongue's got a really weird sense of scale. It makes me think of like, you know, an ocean or kind of sand, all these valleys. But the reason I mention this is if you use your soft palate speaking at the kind of this bit of your mouth, or you hold the note there like, it's fairly soft. If you kind of start to push it to the front, you get a bit of this distortion. So she's adding a bit of that in there. It's just a control thing that singers learn to do. So if they want to add a bit more grit, a bit more dirt, a bit more vibe to a certain, you know, to a certain note, that's how they kind of bring it in. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just give a rough bare bones idea of that sweep lick, and I'll break it down in a separate video. I'm just trying to make things easier for people to find, so it's not like a lick hidden away in a big kind of, you know, 20-minute long rambling video. So it's based around a D minor sweep arpeggio, which is just kind of messing around with these top three strings. So if you want something in the vein of this, if you use the 14th fret on the G, 15 on the B, 13 up to 17 on the E, and you just go down through them. So down on the G, down on the B, down on the E, hammer on, pull off, then probably up on the B, and then you can kind of repeat it. There are different systems for sweeping 3 strings. Almost got through that without messing it up. And I'll link to a more thorough breakdown with the eye up there. But you got that. And then if you stretch up to the 18th fret, so you're going from the 18, still pulling up to the 13, and you do something along the lines of... It's going to get you in the ballpark. And when we're in this final pre-chorus, I don't know if this happens all the time, I've just not noticed it, I've just noticed it this time, or if it's only happening this time. There's a bit of slap bass just on the octaves. That bam 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 bam. So I should be popping that. What was it? Yeah, I think it was a D. So slapping and popping. Can't really do it on guitar with distortion, it just sounds like a mess, but you hear it going on there, right? Again, that distortion, that rasp. And yeah, like I said before, just a huge kind of burnout probably on that D. Yeah, just a big burnout, that's the only way to describe it really. Hit up Patreon if you like this and want to show support for the channel, chuck something in the tip jar. You can click subscribe to keep up to date with the channel or these videos if you've not checked them out, but take it easy guys, and have a good one.